Coin token and the best life hacks. With the ultimate do-it-yourself suggestions. You don't need anything else because we've got you covered. From professionals to more professionals, we've got you covered. Boner coin token. Boner coin token.
Welcome to Boner Coin Token's Life Hacks and Do-It-Yourself Perfect Suggestions, your go-to podcast for turning wild ideas into reality. Today we're doing something a little more exciting than your average home project. We're not talking about building a deck or hanging drywall. We're diving into the thrilling world of roller coasters. That's right, folks, we're going to show you how to build a backyard roller coaster. No long lines, no overpriced tickets, just pure adrenaline from the comfort of your own yard. I'm Maya Winters, your host, and we have one of our resident professionals, Chaz Clarington, here to give his expert advice.
Hi, Maya. It's great to be here again.
Glad to have you, Chaz. We normally have Brick Stonewall as our second professional, but he had a family emergency and left a few minutes ago. So filling in for Brick, and this is very last minute, is Mr. Dick 4.
That's right, Maya. Dick 4 is graciously giving of his time to help ensure that our entire Boner Coin Token family is covered. I don't want anything to be different for your audience, which is embarrassingly smaller than mine, on our life advice hotline, so you are going to just call me Brick this entire time. I insist.
Okay, Dick, thanks for covering
I don't
today.
know what you are talking about or who this sexy Dick you are referring to is. I am Brick Stonewall, I did not leave, and I am probably the best at building backyard roller coasters.
Okay, I guess we're just going to go with it. Oh yes, roller coasters. So whether you're into brute force or high-tech precision, you're in for a ride. Literally.
Oh, you're not kidding, Maya. If you've ever been to an amusement park and thought I could do this better, then this episode is for you. Forget waiting in line for hours or spending your paycheck on park tickets. Why not just build the ride of your dreams in your own backyard? Because that's exactly what I, Brick Stonewall, would do. All you need is some wood, nails, and a pimped-out hammer, and you're halfway there. I'm going to tell you exactly how to create something that'll have your neighbors lining up to ride. But more importantly, they will be drowning in jealousy.
Dick, Brick, it's probably going to take more than some wood, nails, and a hammer to accomplish this
I
task.
have no idea who you are or why you think you can address me directly. But whatever ideas you are going to bring counter to mine are just going to appear inferior. And that's because they are. I am going to advise the hell out of building this roller coaster and do it in a way that no permits or safety inspections are needed. With my instructions, it's just good DIY fun. And your listeners will be totally enriched by it. You won't need fancy tools or any experience at all. Trust me, bro, if you can swing a hammer, you're already ahead of the game.
While Brick's enthusiasm is commendable, building a roller coaster isn't just about nailing some wood together and hoping for the best. There are principles of physics at play here, forces like velocity, acceleration, and gravitational pull that all need to be considered if you want to build something that's not just fun but safe. I've spent the last few days running simulations to calculate the exact G-forces your coaster should withstand, and I've developed some advanced blueprints that will optimize your ride for speed efficiency and structural integrity. Don't worry, it might sound complicated, but I'll break it down for you. By the end of this episode, you'll know how to design a coaster that not only thrills, but also impresses anyone with a background in physics or engineering.
That's right, listeners, whether you're a fan of Brick's quick and dirty approach or Chaz's more scientific take, by the end of this episode, you'll have all the tools you need to get started on building your very own backyard roller coaster. So grab a pen, take some notes, and let's get ready for some serious DIY fun. And of course, as always, safety first. Also, before we get too far into this, you are listening to the Boner Coin Token's Life Hacks and Do-It-Yourself Perfect Suggestions podcast, which means you are on the Boner Coin Token Productions YouTube channel. Do yourself a favor and like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. If this is your first podcast, then you have so much homework. Go watch and listen to everything we have, and we are uploading almost daily. If this isn't your first and you keep listening and haven't subscribed, stop freeloading and help the channel out. We are here for you. It's in our song. Okay, back to Brick.
Safety is overrated, Maya. The faster you build that thing, the quicker you can get to the fun. Part of the thrill is figuring things out on the fly. And you don't need a ton of materials either. If you've got a hammer and a handful of nails, then you are halfway to having an entire backyard amusement park. I mean, who doesn't love the sound of people screaming as they whiz by you strapped into some kind of weak excuse for a ride? All other roller coasters will bow to the one I am about to guide everyone through building. We just have to slap some wood together, and that's the sound of progress, my friends.
Progress, sure, if you're building a birdhouse. But this is a roller coaster brick. You're going to have people flying down a track at high speeds, and you can't just slap things together and hope it holds up. You need to account for the forces involved to make sure the structure can withstand the pressure, and if you don't calculate the proper load distribution, then you're setting yourself up for disaster. There's a reason engineers get paid to design these things. I've got some simulations that can help optimize every angle curve.
Chaz, was it? You sound like you are one to always overcomplicate things. This is why your mother probably hates you and certainly why your dad left. Their marriage was fine. And then there was Chaz. What the hell do fancy simulations know that Brick Stonewall's gut doesn't already know? A few strong nails, a Thor-like hammer, maybe a tree or two, and you're done. I've built plenty of things with way less and they've held up just fine. This is DIY, you learn as you go. In any and every do-it-yourself project, you just have to assert yourself and own that project, make it your whore, and slap it out fast.
Learn as you go does not apply to something with the potential for catastrophic failure brick. You need precise measurements and materials that can handle the weight of the coaster car and its passengers. Not everything can be fixed with more nails and brute force.
Okay, let's not get too carried away here. We'll cover both approaches as we go through the steps. Listeners, whether you want to take Brick's more hands-on approach or follow Chaz's scientifically backed method, we'll make sure you have everything you need. First things first, guys, let's talk about the initial planning and materials you'll need. Whether you're keeping it simple like Brick or going for the more calculated approach like Chaz, there are a few basics you'll want to have ready.
Exactly, Maya. You don't need a shopping list a mile long. Just look around your yard. Got some old fence posts or maybe a few 2x4s? Perfect. That's all you need to get started. Grab those in a box of nails, and basically any nails of any size will do, and you're well on your way. Hell, even if you've got some tree branches or a pile of grass clippings, I could make those work too. The beauty of do-it-yourself is that you can use whatever you've got laying around. No need for a trip to the hardware store to buy expensive and unnecessary lumber or screws. You got this covered from your own oversupply that's laying around your house. Or anything that you can pull out of your neighbor's house on Sunday morning between the hours of 10 a.m. and noon, while they are away at church. It doesn't matter how or where you get your materials, as long as they are free.
Or you could actually plan for the weight distribution and stress points of your structure. The reality is that without the right materials, you're building a death trap. You need steel beams for a project like this to handle the G-forces your coaster will generate when it hits those curves. And if you don't have steel lying around in your backyard, you're going to have to create some. And you're in luck. I've developed a DIY forge method using an old grill, some charcoal, and a leaf blower to get the temperature high enough to smelt your own metal. It's basic metallurgy, and it'll ensure your track can actually hold up under the stress. This is so easy. Let your 4-year-old handle this part while you focus on the harder things.
Okay, so we've got two very different approaches here. Listeners, if you're looking for something quick and straightforward, like Brick mentioned, just make sure whatever materials you use are strong enough to support the weight of the coaster and the car. But if you want to go a bit more advanced like Chaz, you can look into more durable materials like steel beams. Just remember the key here is stability. We want the coaster to stay up during the ride, not come crashing down halfway through.
Stability is easy. You just keep hammering in nails until it is solid. And if it wobbles a bit when you give it a shake, then you just name that whore Sandy and stop paying attention to it until it gives you exactly what you want. You need to dominate that roller coaster whore named Sandy. Also, you need to add more nails. Nothing fancy. If it stands, it's good enough, and you can move on to the next and more important project. Setting up a telescope in your kid's treehouse that is powerful enough to look inside of every window within a 3-block radius.
Or you could follow actual engineering principles and build something that won't collapse when you hit the first turn. A solid foundation isn't something you should just eyeball. It's calculated down to the last detail, which is why I recommend using my algorithm to simulate load distribution before you even start building. You need to start smelting, of course, and that's just basic, everyday knowledge. It's like breathing or calculating the trajectory of the International Space Station. Baby stuff.
All right, let's
really.
move on to the next step, constructing the frame. This is where things start to come together, whether you're going with Brick's simpler approach or Chaz's more technical one. Now that you've gathered your materials, it's time to start building the frame for your backyard roller coaster. This is the foundation of your entire project, so you want to make sure it's stable no matter which approach you take. They both sound viable and good. Either way, it appears that building a backyard roller coaster is going to be simple. Let's keep going, though. What are your thoughts going forward, Brick?
Stable doesn't mean complicated. Just think of it like setting up a swing set. You don't need a ton of fancy tools or measurements. Just grab those beams, tree trunks, fence posts, whatever you've got. Let nature and your garbage be your Home Depot. Start propping all that stuff up into basic triangle shapes. Triangles are the strongest shape in nature, right? So you can't go wrong there. Once you've got the structure propped up, all you have to do is hammer in the nails. Maybe give it a few shakes every dozen or so nails to make sure it's steady. If it holds, you're good to go. If it wobbles, then you're doing it wrong and you have no business even being allowed out of the house where normal, everyday people function. You are a threat to society who does not know how to own his surroundings. But no worries. Just throw in some more nails and you're golden. No need to overthink this, guys. This episode is already longer than it needs to be. People need to learn the brickstone wall way of doing things, and they need to hear about the wrong Chaz. I sound exactly the way I look. Clarington, way of things. So they know what not to do.
Okay, Brick, but I think we might need to go a bit beyond just shaking it to check if it's stable. Listeners, remember this is going to hold the weight of the coaster car and passengers, so you'll want to be sure it's really secure before moving on.
Shaking it might be fine for putting up a garden shed, but for a roller coaster, you must have precision. You can't just nail a few beams together and hope for the best. You have to have a carefully calculated support system that can handle the forces generated by the coaster. I recommend using a series of interconnected trusses to distribute the weight evenly across multiple load-bearing points. And for those who are a little more ambitious, you could build those trusses following the Fibonacci sequence. It's a natural pattern used for efficiency in architecture and design. It's all about reducing stress at any one point and making sure the weight is balanced properly. This is the only place I will allow leeway for cutting corners. It's completely okay to do the Fibonacci calculations in your head. You don't have to write them down. That's pretty basic math, so it will be fine.
So you're saying people should build their roller coaster frame based on a mathematical pattern found in nature and galaxies. And they are okay to just calculate this without writing it down?
Exactly. See, it's easy. The Fibonacci sequence provides the perfect balance and ensures the load is evenly distributed. Trust me, it's going to give you the strongest possible frame. Of course, you'll want to make sure your cuts are precise, which is why I suggest using a laser-guided cutting tool. If you don't have one, then you are in luck again. You can easily build your own using old DVD players, a magnifying glass, and a car battery. I don't even have to explain how. My methods stem from the basic knowledge that everyone learned in catechism.
Right, because everyone just has a spare laser cutter lying around made from old DVD players.
Did you not hear what I said? Maya, it's a simple DIY project, like the ones we built in elementary catechism classes. Once you amplify the laser with a magnifying glass, you'll have a tool that can make precision cuts for your trusses. The result is a perfectly balanced structure capable of withstanding the high-speed forces of the coaster. I'm starting to think you are trying to make this all about Brick's
Chaz,
ideas,
you're making
Maya.
this way harder than it needs to be. Why waste time with Fibonacci sequences and lasers when you can just hammer everything in place and be done with it? We are over here trying to help people with building their dream backyard theme park, and you keep explaining how you pick out your attire before attending anything that is all male. I do not care that your sexual preference is that of the same gender. I'm just tired of hearing your talk about nothing. If it's standing after a few whacks with a hammer, it's good to go. That's do-it-yourself at its finest, safest, and easiest. You are just going to confuse these people. A roller coaster is no place for an onboard DVD player that you need a magnifying glass to see. Your advice is weak and your demeanor is embarrassing. When these people build their roller coasters according to my perfectly and carefully planned instructions, resulting in their property values going up, they will be glad that they decided to ignore you, just like every person in your life that is supposed to love you.
Okay, so listeners, you've got two very different approaches for building the frame. Brick's method involves using what you have on hand and nailing it together with a lot of confidence and a bit of brute force. Chaz's method is a bit more detailed with mathematical patterns and custom tools. Whichever route you choose, remember that this frame is the foundation of your roller coaster, and it needs to be sturdy and secure before you start building the track.
Geez, Maya, whose side are you on? Sturdy is easy. Why are you two trying to make it sound like these listeners are dumb as hell? They can see through all of this fancy science jargon. Just keep adding nails until it doesn't move anymore, and bing, bang, boom, you're done.
Or you could do it right the first time, with precise calculations, and avoid adding endless nails as a fix for bad planning.
All right, let's move on to the next part, building. Track, which is where your roller coaster really starts to take shape and you can really see it coming together. But things can get a bit tricky. Whether you're going with Brick's straightforward approach or Chaz's more scientific method, the track is what's going to give your roller coaster its thrills.
Tricky? Nah, Maya, it's easy. You just grab some plywood, slap it down on the frame, and nail it into place. Don't worry about fancy curves and measurements. You can just bend the plywood where it needs to go. Plywood is flexible enough to handle it. Just bend whatever angle you need and nail right there into place. The more you bend it, the faster you'll go. Just make sure you're nailing it down tight. If the track starts to warp after a few runs, you can always hammer it back into place or weigh it down with some cinder blocks. Or fill up old socks with dirt if cinder blocks aren't just strewn through your yard like they are mine. It doesn't need to be perfect. The rougher the ride, the better. Just ask your mom, she knows. Rough, that's what makes it fun.
So you're saying that warping and bumps are okay, Brick? You don't think that might be a problem when the coaster is moving at high speeds?
Nah, Maya, that's just part of the thrill. Who wants a perfectly smooth ride? That's boring and a waste of good bendable plywood. If it warps a little, it adds some excitement and screams character. It's simply more bang for the buck you didn't have to spend. Plus, it'll be a new and different ride every time you use your backyard DIY masterpiece. You want your heart racing when you're riding this thing, don't you? Just add more nails if it starts moving too much or if you're weak in the knees. Either way, Chaz is sounding more and more like he is desperate for the touch of for anything or anyone to touch him. It's like building anything else, the more nails, the better. You can always fix things as you go, but I'm 100% confident you won't need to fix anything if you are following my instructions with no variations or personal flair. Oh, a pro tip here. If you soak your plywood in water for the 2 or 3 months leading up to building, it will be so much easier to bend than it already is. You're welcome.
Right, well, I think we should remind listeners that safety is key here. Warping might add some thrill, as you call it, but we don't want anything flying off the track.
Or you could avoid warping entirely by using a more reliable material than plywood. Brick's method might give you a rustic feel, but if you want a smooth ride that can handle high speeds, you'll need something stronger than wood. I suggest using flexible metal tubing for the track. Steel or aluminum would work best. You can shape the tubing into precise curves and loops using a hydraulic track bending machine. If you don't have one of those, don't worry. I've got a tutorial for building your own using car jacks and a garden hose. It's all about creating a track that offers a smooth, controlled ride while handling the forces of acceleration and deceleration. This simple approach and easy DIY tool build negates the need for nails completely.
So let me get this straight, Chaz. You're suggesting people build a hydraulic bending machine out of car jacks and a garden hose to shape metal for their backyard roller coaster.
Yes, Maya, I don't even understand why You are questioning this. It's really simple. The car jacks provide the force, and the hose directs the pressure to bend the metal tubing into the perfect shape. For added durability, I recommend filling the tubing with a custom polymer blend that I call roller gel. It'll help the tubing maintain its shape while also absorbing some of the stress from the coaster car. It's a proprietary mix of household items like cornstarch, glue, and silicone, easy to make, and it'll make sure your track stays in top condition.
Roller gel? Of course, because what's a backyard roller coaster without homemade gel inside the tracks?
Now, you get it. I was beginning to wonder about your hosting qualifications. No offense, Maya. It's all about balancing flexibility with durability. Once you've shaped the tubing and filled it with roller gel, you'll have a track that can handle any speed without warping or losing integrity. The smoother the ride, the better. And my method ensures that you'll get the smoothest ride
You don't
possible.
need all that fancy tubing and lube. Just throw some damn plywood down, bend it a little, and call it a day. Why are we bringing cornstalks and children's glue into this? The bumps are not by accident. They are there for the enjoyment of riders. That's what a roller coaster is supposed to be about, right? You can always fix things on the fly if something goes wrong. That's the beauty of it. Simplicity is heavenly, and the roller coaster you build needs to balance simplicity with having the best damn backyard roller coaster that anyone since the beginning of the world has ever had.
All right, listeners, we've got two very different approaches to building your track. Brick's plywood method is simple and quick, but you'll need to be prepared for a bumpier ride. Chaz's method involves metal tubing, roller gel, and a homemade hydraulic bending machine, so it's definitely more advanced. Whichever route you choose, just remember that your track needs to be secure before you start testing the coaster. You don't want anything coming loose when you hit those
If it
curves.
holds together while you're building it, it's good to go. Just ride fast and hold on tight. If something shakes loose, you'll know soon enough. And assuming you survive the aftermath of it, you can easily fix it.
Or you could avoid the shaking altogether by running a few simulations with my algorithm to make sure the track is perfectly balanced before you take your first ride. It's all about precision and planning, Brick.
Okay, let's keep moving. The next part is probably the most fun and potentially the most dangerous. Now that your frame and track are ready, it's time to design the coaster car. This is the part where you really get to be creative, but also where safety becomes especially important. Whether you're keeping it simple like Brick or going for something more technical like Chaz, your car needs to be sturdy enough to handle the ride and keep you safely inside.
Sturdy is easy, Maya, and you don't need anything fancy for the car. You just need something that rolls and has enough space to sit in and keeps you from flying out. And I've got the perfect solution, a wheelbarrow. It's already got a wheel, it's deep enough to hold you, and it's made for rough terrain. It's like it was built for this. All you have to do is add on some training wheels, like the ones you took off your daughter's bike last summer and couldn't throw away because of sentimental reasons. After you have the training wheels nailed on, just throw in a couple of cushions for comfort and you're good to go. If you're feeling extra fancy like Chaz is trying to force you to be, you can nail on some old bicycle handlebars for steering. But honestly, as long as you hold on tight, you're golden. You want that adrenaline rushing? Isn't that the whole point of what we are doing here? Cheap thrills with little skills.
A wheelbarrow. You're suggesting people sit in a wheelbarrow for a roller coaster car and just hold on tight.
Yes, it's perfect, Maya. Think about it, like really think about it. It's built to carry heavy loads like rocks or dirt so it can handle a person no problem. Plus, it's got those sturdy wheels we just nailed on. You won't need to build anything new. Just repurpose what you've already got lying around. The less you complicate things, the faster you get to the fun part. Just hold on tight, steer with your body, and enjoy the ride. And if you really need handlebars, sure nail them on there. But the thrill is in hanging on and feeling the wind in your face.
So, we're just going to skip the part where this sounds incredibly dangerous. Listeners, if you decide to go with Brick's wheelbarrow method, please make sure you at least add some handlebars. And maybe some padding and perhaps seatbelts would be a good idea too. Or better yet, don't sit in a wheelbarrow at all.
Seatbelts? That'll slow you down. You want to feel the thrill, and if you're strapped in too tight, it's not the same. Besides, if something goes wrong, you just tuck and roll, it's all part of it. I don't think your job is to question my methods, Maya. Your job is to sit there and tell people how terrible Chaz's ideas
I'm
are.
going to pretend you didn't just say that tuck and roll is a safety tip, and no, my job is not whatever you just said. I am a host, and I am here to make sure everything you both are saying is clear and concise, so that the listeners understand.
You don't have to filter my ideas, Maya. They are simple. They are so easy to understand. While Bricks Bucket on Wheels approach might give you a rustic feel, if you want something that's actually aerodynamic and safe, you're going to need a bit more engineering. What you want is a lightweight car that minimizes drag and maximizes speed. I suggest crafting an aluminum frame for the car. Aluminum is light, durable, and easy to work with. Then for the body, you can create custom carbon fiber panels. Don't worry if you don't have carbon fiber lying around. You can make it yourself at home. You'll just need some fiberglass, specialized epoxies, resin, and a foam mold. Once you've got the shell, you can take it to the next level with a magnetic levitation system. This will reduce friction and let your car float over the track instead of rolling on wheels. It's a much smoother and faster ride, and it is the only viable and easiest option for building a backyard
Magnetic
roller coaster.
levitation for a backyard roller coaster, and you think people can just make their own carbon fiber too?
Absolutely. Carbon fiber is actually pretty simple to make once you get the hang of it, and the magnetic levitation system is just basic physics. It reduces friction by using opposing magnetic fields. You can pull the magnets from old speakers and wire them to an Arduino board to control the levitation. I've even developed a Python script to help calculate the exact magnetic field strength you'll need for different speeds. It's a game changer, really, and I did the heavy lifting for our listeners. You'll be riding on air while everyone else is stuck with wheels.
Because everyone listening definitely knows how to code and has access to a bunch of spare speaker magnets.
Exactly. That's the beauty of DIY. You can always find what you need if you're creative enough. Plus, the magnetic levitation system means less wear and tear on the track. It's safer, smoother, and faster. And who wouldn't want that?
You don't need magnets or carbon fiber people, just a good old wheelbarrow. Maybe slap some duct tape on there for extra grip. But that's not even necessary at all. It would simply be a cosmetic add-on. The faster the better. And if something breaks, you fix it along the way. That's how DIY works.
All right, listeners, so here we are with two options for your coaster car. Brick's approach is a bit more, let's call it low-tech. He's suggesting you repurpose a wheelbarrow and hope for the best. Chaz, on the other hand, is going full sci-fi with a custom carbon fiber shell and magnetic levitation. Whichever route you choose, please prioritize safety. Make sure the car is secure before you take it for a spin.
The best safety is just holding on tight and going for it. If it flies off the track, that's just part of the game. You'll know where to fix it afterward. It's a do-it-yourself project, not some weirded-out science fair project. We aren't trying to overcompensate on an internet podcast, attempting to drown out the magnificent failure which is our life, like Chaz is. We are simply building a backyard roller coaster.
Or you could avoid flying off the track entirely by using my electromagnetic braking
Right,
system,
because
which
a backyard
engages
roller coaster definitely needs
automatically when the
electromagnetic
car
brakes
approaches the
and
end of the
high-tech
track.
engineering.
Smooth, controlled
Listeners, just be
deceleration
careful,
with
okay?
zero impact.
That's
It's
all
all
I'm
calculated
saying.
perfectly.
All right, let's move on to the final part of the project, the test run in safety. This is the point where all your hard work comes together. Whether you went with Brick's more hands-on approach or Chaz's highly calculated method, you're going to want to make sure everything is secure before you hop in and take that first ride.
Yeah, sure, but let's not overthink this part, Maya. It's just a roller coaster. You built it, now it's time to see what it can do. This is where the fun happens, and you don't need to fuss with too many so-called safety precautions. A helmet is plenty, maybe some elbow pads if you're feeling fancy and are trying to make some fashion statement. With those things, you're good to go. Once you've got the car ready, just give it a good push from the top of the track and let gravity do its thing. That's right. All the science you need in this project is gravity. The rest is just second nature, go for it gut feelings. The faster the better. Don't worry about brakes either. You'll slow down naturally when you hit the ground at the end of the track. If something goes a little wild, just tuck and roll. It's the only tried and true method for guaranteed safety. Trust me, bro, it works every time.
Wait, did you just say tuck and roll again? That's still your safety advice for a roller coaster mishap,
Yeah,
Brick?
and why not? It's what I always do when something goes wrong. You just gotta roll with it. Literally, it's all part of the thrill. If you're not getting a little banged up, what's the point? No pain, no gain, right? Just hang on, and if something goes wrong, tuck and roll, and you'll be fine. You might get a tiny scratch or scuff, you just rub some dirt on it and stop acting like a beta. You are, in fact, a beta, but that does not mean you have to act like it.
Brick, this isn't a dirt bike track. You can't just tell people to throw themselves out of a moving roller coaster and expect everything to be fine.
Come on,
Listeners,
Maya,
please
the whole
don't follow
point
that
is to
advice.
live a little. You are telling them what they should and shouldn't do, while the whole point of this show is to help them build things a better way, the Brickstone Wall way. I am here as the expert. You are here as the token eye candy, even if your flavor is equivalent to black licorice. If you're building a backyard roller coaster, you're already halfway to crazy, might as well go all the way. If something shakes loose or flies off, just patch it up and try again. Stop scaring these people with scenarios that are 150% likely to not
listeners,
happen.
we are definitely advising you to prioritize safety here before you go full speed down your track, and maybe have some backup safety measures in place just in case.
While Brick's approach sounds like an accident waiting to happen, I've developed a far more controlled method for ensuring your safety. What you need is a proper braking system. I recommend an electromagnetic braking system strategically placed along the track. As your car approaches the end of the ride, these electromagnets will engage, creating a magnetic field that counteracts the car's momentum, bringing it to a slow and controlled stop. You can program the system to activate at a specific speed using sensors that communicate with the magnets via Bluetooth. It's precise and foolproof, ensuring that you don't need to tuck and roll out of anything. Just download the app from the App Store. It's free, with in-app purchases, of course.
Bluetooth-controlled brakes. You're telling people they need to code their own braking system for a backyard roller coaster, Chaz? And you think this is something people can just do on their own?
Maya, I hate to do this, but I must agree with Brick here. It's not as complicated as you make it sound, and I'm concerned that your jaded views and biased opinions are going to turn people off from even trying to build my elementary level roller coaster. The sensors detect the speed and position of the car and communicate with the braking system to engage the magnets at just the right moment. What is so hard to understand about this? It's all about controlled deceleration. For those with a little more ambition, you could even integrate a GPS system to monitor the car's position in real time. This way, you'll have complete control over the braking process and ensure the smoothest possible stop. That's not necessary, but it's an option for those who want to tackle it. All you need to be capable of building this out is a reading level higher than the 6th grade.
Right, because everyone building a roller coaster in their backyard is definitely going to have a GPS system installed. Listeners, please, if you're going to take any advice today, let it be this. Don't overcomplicate things and be safe. No GPS. No Bluetooth. Just common sense, okay?
Common sense, Maya? There you go again, trying to control everything and everyone. Is your middle name Karen? You're building a backyard roller coaster. There's no room for common sense here. There's no room for your wrong opinions either. It's all about the ride and shooting from the hip. You want to be gripping the sides and hoping for the best. That's it. End of story. Stop trying to force your will on everyone.
Or you could avoid all the chaos by planning ahead and using my magnetic braking system. No guesswork, no tuck and roll, just smooth, precise deceleration. The future of roller coasters is in your backyard. If you're willing to follow the easy steps, it's such a simple and universal process that you don't even need instructions.
Well, listeners, we've reached the point where I have to remind you that while this has been a fun journey, please prioritize your safety. Whether you're going the brick route with more nails and a hope for the best attitude or following Chaz's high-tech engineering plan with magnetic brakes and sensors, be sure that everything is secure and double-check everything. And by safety, I mean maybe reconsider doing this in the first place. But if you're really set on building your own roller coaster, At least have some padding or an ambulance on
An
standby.
ambulance? That's overkill, Maya. And it's just like you. Did you even have a childhood? If you build it right, you won't need one. Just get out there and have fun. If something breaks, that's just part of the adventure. You just fix it later.
Or you could follow my detailed safety protocols and avoid needing an ambulance in the first place. With magnetic brakes, GPS tracking, and real-time velocity adjustments, there's no reason anything should go wrong. Stop trying to tell people they don't need these things. Of course they need these
Yeah,
things.
sure. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to Boner Coin Token's life hacks and do-it-yourself perfect suggestions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you somehow survive this project, feel free to leave a comment and tell us how it went, assuming you're still in one piece. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.
Boner Coin Token and the best life hacks. With the ultimate do-it-yourself suggestions. You don't need anything else because we've got you covered. From professionals to more professionals, we've got you covered. Boner Coin Token. Ooh, ooh, the coin token.